Let me speak to the tired heart for a moment, the one that's been chasing, running, grinding, not because of passion, but because of pressure. You've been chasing the job, chasing the breakthrough, chasing the dream, but the more you run, the more it seems to slip through your fingers. And I came to tell you, stop chasing. You were never created to chase what was already assigned to you. You don't have to chase what was called to you. What's yours knows your name. It knows your spirit. It knows your frequency. And if you would just stand still, it will find its way to you. You're not being punished by the delay. You're being prepared. And preparation always precedes manifestation. You're not late. You're right on time for your time. See, when you rest, you make room for grace to move. You make room for doors to open without you forcing the handle. You make room for the anointing to attract what your anxiety has been chasing. Because grace doesn't strive. It flows. You don't have to perform to be accepted. You don't have to pretend to be seen. You are already enough, not when you get the promotion, not when the business blows up. Now, stop running after what's not running towards you, because sometimes chasing something that's not yours will drain the strength you need to hold what is. Let everything come to you. Let it come through peace. Let it come through alignment. Let it come through purpose. And when it comes, you'll be ready. Not because you ran toward it, but because you became it. Stay in position, stay in faith, and watch it come to you. There's something deeply frustrating about feeling like you're always in a rush, always behind. We live in a world that teaches us to chase. Chase success, chase love, chase recognition, chase validate. But what happens when what we're chasing seems to be running from us? What do you do when you're doing everything you can? And still the doors don't open, the calls don't come, the answers don't show up. You begin to question yourself. Maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I need to run harder, move faster, wake up earlier, stay up later. And before long, you're not moving with purpose. You're running with panic. You're no longer trusting the process. You're trying to control. But here's the truth. No one tells you when you're stuck in that cycle of endless pursuit. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And just because it hasn't come to you on your timeline doesn't mean it's not on the way. There's a difference between your deadline and God's timing, and that difference can feel like a delay, but it's actually divine protection. Sometimes the very thing you're praying for is still being prepared, not just for you, but for who you're becoming. You see, God's not just answering prayers. He's building people, and He won't give you something you're not ready to carry because He knows what it would do to you. He knows that a blessing given too early can become a burden. He knows that the very thing you're chasing can crush you if your character isn't ready for it. So while you're stressing over the weight, God is working on the weight. The weight of responsibility, the weight of stewardship, the weight of maturity. We don't like divine timing because it forces us to surrender. It forces us to release our illusion of control. But divine timing is not about punishment. It's about preparation. It's about knowing that the right thing at the wrong time can be the wrong thing. It's about trusting that the season you're in right now is not in the way. It's on the way. You think the delay is denial, but it's actually design. It's designed to shape you, to strengthen you, to stretch you. Every closed door is not rejection. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's God saying, not yet, not there, not this way, because He sees what you don't. He sees the corners you can't see around. He sees the things that would hurt you if He allowed them to come too soon. So maybe the struggle isn't about chasing harder, but about letting go. Maybe it's about releasing your timeline so you can align with His. Maybe it's about learning to rest in the middle of uncertainty. Knowing that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not moving, just because it's not viable. And while you're worried about speed, God is focused on strength. While you're focused on the clock, He's focused on the foundation. Because He's not just giving you something to enjoy, He's giving you something you can sustain. And that kind of blessing takes time. That kind of purpose takes pressure. That kind of calling takes preparation. We've been conditioned to believe that rest is weakness, that slowing down is failure, that if you're not constantly moving, constantly grinding, constantly producing, you're falling behind. But rest, when done in faith, is one of the most powerful declarations you could make. Rest says, I trust that I don't have to do it all. Rest says, I believe something greater than me is working while I wait. Rest isn't about doing the right thing with the right heart. And sometimes the most right thing you can do is sit still and believe. There's a difference between rest that comes from exhaustion and rest that comes from revelation. One says, I can't go on. The other says, I don't. When you rest from a place of trust, you're not quitting, you're surrendering. And surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's knowing the limits of your strength and choosing instead to rely on something higher, something deeper, something eternal. You can work hard and still be rested. You can be active and still be aligned. Because rest is not just physical, it's spiritual, it's internal. It's that quiet confidence that says, I may not have all the answers, but I know who does. I may not see the full picture, but I trust the one painting. Rest is the refusal to allow anxiety to drive your decisions. Rest is the ability to say no to the noise and yes to your peace. Rest is the space you create for clarity, for connection, for divine interruption. We think the more we do, the more we'll receive. That if we just push harder, God will bless us faster. But the kingdom doesn't work like the culture. In the kingdom, the first is last and the last is first. In the kingdom, stillness can move mountains. In the kingdom, peace attracts power. And when you choose rest over striving, you begin to move with heaven instead of ahead of it. Faith isn't just believing for the outcome, it's trusting in the process. And that kind of trust can only be demonstrated in rest. Not the kind of rest that comes after you've exhausted every option, but the kind that says, I don't need to run myself into the ground to prove my worth. You don't need to perform for God to pay attention. He's not impressed by your burnout. He's not moved by your panic. He's moved by your belief. Oh, when you choose rest, you're choosing to acknowledge that God's plan is still unfolding, even when you can't feel it. You're making a statement with your stillness. You're telling the world, I'm not going to let the pressure of culture push me out of the presence of God. Because real rest is presence, it's dwelling, it's abiding. It's not the absence of activity, it's the presence of trust. Some of the greatest breakthroughs come when you stop forcing things and start flowing in. Some of the greatest revelations come not in the busyness of doing, but in the silence of being. And you allow yourself to rest. You begin to hear more clearly, see more fully, and live more free. You realize that it's not your effort sustaining you, it's grace. And grace doesn't require you to chase, only to receive. The world says hustle harder, grind more, never stop. But heaven says wait, trust, rest. Not because you're lazy, but because you're aligned. Because you know that what's meant for you won't miss you. And what misses you was never meant for you. Rest is the evidence that you believe that. Rest is the doorway to deeper wisdom, to divine momentum that doesn't come from stress but from surrender. You've been taught that the harder you work, the more you deserve. That if you just keep pushing, keep striving, keep proving yourself, the reward will come. That your value is wrapped up in your hustle, and the blessing will only arrive if you're. But what if I told you that the blessing has never been about your effort? What if I told you that what's meant for you isn't tied to how hard you chase it, but how deeply you trust the one who assigned it to you? Because there are some things that were never designed to be chased. They were designed to be received. You don't run others to get what already has your name on it. You don't have to strive for what grace has already secured. The blessing isn't looking for the loudest, the fastest, the most exhausted. It's looking for the aligned, the faithful, the surrendered. And when you align yourself with who you were created to be, what was meant for you will begin to find its way to you. You won't have to manipulate your way into it. You won't have to compete with anyone else to get it, because destiny is not a race. It's an appointment. There's a difference between chasing opportunity and preparing for assignment. One wears you out, the other builds you up. When you chase opportunity, you're constantly wondering if you're good enough, ready enough, smart enough. But when you prepare for assignment, you know that the blessing will recognize your name, your voice, your heart. You know that when the moment is right, it will come, Not because you forced it, but because you were faithful where you were. And let's be real, chasing everything means trusting nothing. When you chase, you're operating from a place of fear, not faith. You're afraid you'll be overlooked, afraid you'll miss your shot, afraid someone else will get what's meant for you. But fear never produces fulfillment. Fear creates frantic movement with no direction. Faith, on the other hand, builds confidence without chaos. It lets you move in purpose without needing to prove anything to anyone. Some of the most powerful moves of God in your life will happen when you stop striving and start believing. When you let go of trying to earn what can only be given. When you stop performing for people who were never assigned to your destiny. Because here's the truth. What's yours won't require you to beg. What's yours won't require you to break yourself down just to be seen. What's yours will speak your language, fit your soul on it. And it will show up not because you chased it, but because you were positioned to receive it. God doesn't bless who you pretend to be. He blesses the real you. The you who rests, the you who believes, the you who shows up in faith, even when it's quiet. And when you understand that, you stop chasing validation from broken systems and start standing in the identity He gave you. You start realizing that it's not your grind that brings the breakthrough. It's your growth. It's the quiet work behind the scene. It's the decisions you make when no one is watching. It's the heart you develop when no one is clapping. Because you can chase all the right things for all the wrong reasons and still feel empty. But when you're aligned with purpose, when you're walking in grace, the blessing will locate you. The door will open. The opportunity will rise. And it won't be because you hustled your way into it. It will be because it was always meant to be yours. There's something sacred about peace that people often overlook. In a world that thrives on chaos, noise, and constant comparison, peace becomes the quiet proof that you're in alignment with something greater than yourself. It becomes the inner confirmation that no matter how things look on the outside, you're right where you're supposed to be. Peace is not just a feeling. It's a compass. It tells you what's for you and what's not. It speaks when everything else is loud. It settles you when the pressure is high. And it never lies. Sometimes we chase things because they look good, sound good, or seem like the logical next step. But peace doesn't follow logic, it follows purpose. You can have all the signs in the world telling you something is a good idea. But if your spirit is uneasy, that's not peace. That's a warning. And when you ignore that warning to chase an image, a status, or a desire, you'll end up exhausted, disappointed, and disconnected. Because what costs you your peace is too expensive for your purpose. Peace is the indicator that you're in rhythm with divine timing. It's the sign that you're not ahead or behind, just present. And presence is power. You can be doing everything the world told you to do, working the job, growing the brand, building the relationship. But if peace isn't there, you're not really living, you're just surviving. Because peace is what sustains you in the silence. Peace is what anchors you when the results aren't visible. Peace is what reminds you that you're not alone, even when no one else is cheering. You don't have to force what flows. When something is for you, it won't create constant confusion. It won't keep you up at night in anxiety. It won't make you question your identity or your worth. The things that come from God come with peace, not that they won't stretch you. Peace doesn't mean the absence of problems. It means the presence of clarity. People often chase things that were never assigned to them because they confuse ambition with direction. But ambition without peace will leave you striving without satisfaction. You'll be chasing what you think will complete you, only to find that it depletes you. But when peace is your guide, you learn to walk away from what looks good in the moment and wait for what's right in the spirit. You learn that if it doesn't come with peace, it's not worth your energy. You stop settling for what looks urgent and start waiting for what feels true. Peace doesn't scream, it whispers. And that's why you have to get quiet to hear. You have to pull away from the opinions, the pressure, the expectations, and sit with yourself long enough to ask, does this align with who I really am? Because you'll never find peace in pretending. You'll never find peace in performing. You'll only find it in presence, in being true to who you are, where you are, and what you're created for. And when you prioritize peace, you start to see life differently. You stop chasing opportunities that disturb your spirit. You stop entertaining relationships that confuse your heart. You stop saying yes to things that steal your stillness. You begin to protect your peace like the treasure it is, because you know it's not just an emotion. It's a signal that you're aligned with the path meant for you, a signal that you're walking in truth, not tension, a signal that you're flowing, not forcing. You live in a world that constantly tells you to prove yourself, to show up louder, stronger, more impressive. Your value is attached to what you do, what you would choose. But identity was never meant to be built on effort. Worth was never supposed to come from performance. There is a deep lie that says you have to be more to be loved, that you have to achieve more to be accepted, that you have to earn your place at the table. You were valuable before you ever lifted a finger. You were worthy before anyone ever noticed your talent. Your existence alone is evidence that you were chosen, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You don't have to constantly perform to prove you're enough. You don't need applause to be affirmed. You don't need to outrun your fears just to feel seen, because what you are looking for in external validation can only be found in internal revelation. When you understand that your value is not rooted in the grind, but in your God-given identity, you begin to walk differently. You begin to speak differently. You begin to show up not to compete, but to complete what's been assigned to you. There's a heavy burden that comes with performance, a weight that never lets you rest, a pressure that makes you feel like you have to always be on. That if you slow down, if you step back, if you take a breath, you'll fall behind. But you can't outrun insecurity with more effort. You can't heal wounds by working harder. Eventually, the mask of performance will slip. The energy to maintain the illusion will run out. And when it does, you'll be forced to face the truth that none of it made you more loved. None of it made you more chosen, because you were already those things before the performance ever began. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you realize you are not defined by your result. That even on your worst day, you are still enough. That even when you fail, your purpose doesn't die. That your identity is secure, not because of what you can do, but because of who you belong to. And when you rest in that truth, you stop performing out of fear and start moving out of faith. You stop striving for validation and start serving from overflow. The world rewards image, but purpose requires authenticity. You were not created to impress people. You were created to impact them. And you can't impact anyone while pretending to be someone you're not. True impact only comes from true identity, from the quiet confidence that says, I don't have to be everything. I just have to be who I am. That kind of confidence is not loud, it's steady. It doesn't rush, it rests. It doesn't scream, it speaks with authority. And that authority doesn't come from performance. It comes from knowing who you are, even when no one else is watching. You don't have to earn the right to be seen. You don't have to fight for the spotlight. You don't have to exhaust yourself trying to maintain a version of yourself that you think people will accept. The right people, the right places, the right purpose, they will recognize the real you. Not the curated image, not the perfectly edited version, but the authentic you. And the more you embrace that truth, the more you realize you never needed to chase validation to begin with. You were already enough, already seen, already loved, without the performance. There is a divine difference between waiting and a culture obsessed with speed. We've confused stillness with stagnation. We've been taught that if you're not constantly moving, constantly posting, constantly grinding, you must be losing. But there are seasons where the silence is sacred, where the slow is strategic, where the pause is not punishment, it's preparation. Just because nothing seems to be happening on the surface doesn't mean growth isn't taking place underneath. Some of the most powerful transformations happen in hidden places. Some of the greatest shifts take root where no one is clapping, where no one is watching, where no one even knows what you're going through. You have to understand that timing is everything, and divine timing doesn't follow human expectation. What looks like a delay may actually be divine development. You're not just being held back, you're being held together. You're not just being passed over, you're being preserved. Because what God is building in you can't be rushed. There are layers that must be formed, foundations that must be solid, character that must be refined. You're not just waiting for the right opportunity. The right opportunity is waiting for the right version of you. In the stillness, you gain strength. In the quiet, you gain clarity. It's in the slow seasons that your roots grow deeper, your discernment sharpens, that your trust matures. And when the time comes, you won't have to chase the door. The door will open by itself, not because you forced it, not because you manipulated your way in, but because your preparation matched the promise. Some doors won't open until you're ready to walk through them with the weight of wisdom. Some blessings won't be released until you have the capacity to carry them without being crushed. It takes faith to move, but it takes greater faith to wait. Waiting requires trust that God is working when you can't see Him. It requires surrendering your calendar, your plan, your expectation. And that's hard when everything in you wants to make something happen. But maturity is learning to discern the difference between what needs your effort and what requires your patience. You don't have to force fruit in a season of planting. You don't have to create outcomes in a season of obedience. There is power in pacing yourself according to purpose. You can't microwave what was meant to be marinated. You can't rush what was meant to be revealed in due time. Some things are too precious to be delivered early. Some breakthroughs are too significant to be birthed before full term. And when you understand that, you stop panicking in the pause. You stop measuring your life against someone else's timeline. You stop trying to sprint through a season that was designed to shape you. Because you realize that who you are becoming is more important than what you are receiving. And sometimes the delay is the protection. Because God loves you too much to give you something that would derail you. He would rather hold you in hiddenness than hand you a platform that your character can't sustain. He would rather let you wrestle in the wilderness than watch you collapse under the weight of a blessing you're not prepared for. So you may feel overlooked, but you're actually being overshadowed by grace. You may feel like nothing's moving, but everything that matters is shifting in you. Your waiting is not in vain. It's in view. It's building something eternal in you that no one can take away. So now you see what's meant for you was never meant to be chased. It's drawn to the real you, not the restless you, to the surrendered heart, not the striving hands. Yeah, you don't have to run yourself empty trying to force what grace has already prepared. You don't have to perform, pretend, or push beyond your peace. Let it come. Let it unfold. Let it rise in its appointed time. Because when you stop chasing, you make room for the divine to do what only it can do. And what flows to you in faith will always be greater than what you forced in fear. Breathe, rest, align, and let it come.